Well, hello, good people. Mark Holmes here. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. Hope everybody's having a great weekend. I am doing a little stuff here. I'll tell you in a minute. But if you're Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, you're feeling pretty good right now because the fact that Luka was traded for Anthony Davis, it is going crazy on Twitter that the Cowboys are no longer, that Jerry and Stephen Jones are no longer the dumbest GMs in Dallas. Yeah, it's literally that bad of a trade, at least from the outside looking in. And maybe that gets them a little bit off the hook, that, hey, from production-wise standpoint, we're not the worst in the NFL right now. You got to look at the Dallas Mavericks because, they really screwed the pooch. And if there's one thing I know about, it's not screwing the pooch and messing things up big time. So we feel real good that we are no longer at the very bottom and we're crawling our way up to the top. And we hope that, getting Shoddy here, who's about change as well as stability, that getting him here and some of the assistant coaches, that all of a sudden that this is a brand new day and it's all beginning right now with the hiring of Shoddy. So we feel really, really good about that. And it's funny because I was looking at X, and of course they were asking what was the dumbest trade that the Cowboys made, and somebody had said Amari Cooper for a fourth, and I was kind of looking at it and saying, I hate to tell you, bro, that's not it. It was actually Amari Cooper for a fifth round. Yeah, we traded Amari Cooper for a fifth, but here's the thing, and I think I said this when it first happened. You got to look at it from the standpoint where the Cowboys, they don't know how to trade. They honestly do not know how to trade, and which is one of the reasons why they should not. The only time they've been winning as far as trades go have been trading back in the draft. They've done really well doing that. Beyond that, they've made some really bad moves. Now, you can say the Cowboys trading Amari Cooper for a fifth is terrible, but that's not the worst things that they've done. And you're like, I don't remember a trade that's worse than that one. Well, sometimes it's the trades that you didn't make in your haste. And what I'm going to say is, I want you to think about what they did as far, because here's the thing. Amari Cooper was going to be gone. They weren't going to pay him the $20 million that he was owed. And Jerry Jones was pissed off about him basically not taking the COVID stuff and, seeing him out in public and doing all those things. That was a power move. And so they wanted to go ahead and send a message to him and send him to the worst place they could think of, and that's Cleveland. Cleveland is not where you want to go as a quarterback or a wide receiver. But think back about another wide receiver, Des Bryant. Des Bryant, they held on to, and they finally released him. They held on to him for so long that by the time he got released, nobody wanted him. And maybe you could argue that nobody would have made a trade for him. That's possible. And so you might not be able to count that one. But I'm going to damn sure say DeMarcus Ware. DeMarcus Ware. Wow. DeMarcus Ware. That's one that you looked at and they just flat out released him. You just released him. And this was a guy, now granted, the last 2 years he was here, he was at 6.5 sacks, had a multitude of injuries and things, and they felt good enough about him to try and do the right thing for him to be able to pick the team that he wanted to go on. However, you could have traded him for something. Trust and believe that. They ended up releasing him because he was owed $16 million, and they looked at it and said the amount of production we've been getting the last couple of years is not equal to $16 million. He's been a great soldier for the team. Let's let him pick and choose where he wants to go. And that's great for what you did for DeMarcus Ware, but as far as the team goes, you missed out. You missed out. And I dare say that was worse than getting a 5th round for Amari Cooper. Granted, you should have got more for Amari Cooper. When you see that he was traded 3 years later for a 3rd, and you see some of the other receivers that were traded during this time, it's kind of crazy that you only got that 5th round draft pick. It's safe to say the Cowboys have made some major blunders as GMs. One of them has been they paid guys too quickly for having a great season. And it's not just recently. You can go back and say, well, Dak got overpaid. Well, here's the reality. Here's the reality here is that stuff started back in the day with guys like Jay Ratcliffe. They overpaid him. Marion Barber, who wasn't even your full-time back, they paid him like a 7-year, $52 million contract, which was unheard of for a running back. But they were thinking he's going to be our running back for the next 7 years, not realizing that running backs aren't good for that many more years. And unfortunately, within 2 years, he was on the Chicago Bears. You could look at Miles Austin, who was a guy. Go back and watch Hard Knocks, and you can see that he had hamstring issues throughout his career. And so to sign him after him having one big season, you kind of put yourself in the hole. And this thing just kept happening over and over and over again, because very few times as the Cowboys made a big contract, be it Dez, be it Tony Romo, be it Jalen Smith, that they actually got dividends. The only deals that I can look at and say, yeah, they got value out of would be Tyron Smith, Zach Barton, D-Law, and Travis Frederick. Travis. Actually, I don't think Travis got a second deal, did he? I don't think he got a big contract out of it. But those are the contracts that you look at and say, yeah, we got value out of those contracts. But some of those other ones, man, we ate a lot of dead money. And part of that was the Cowboys always want to lock somebody down in today's dollars, thinking they're going to have them for years down the road. And unfortunately, most of the time, it hasn't worked out that way. Well, I can actually say the money they paid Dak. Here's how you know that you did a decent deal. That you're forced to have to do another big deal. Because if a guy's not living up to that first big deal he got, he ain't getting a second. There you go. All right, you good people. I'm doing some investigation work because, look at this. This is a Sears kit house from 1908. And I'm discovering that Waynesboro is mostly built by kit houses from Sears. And I'm going through and I'm trying to prove that this house right here, I'm going to go up in the attic and I'm looking for numbers stamped on the wood. If I can find some of those, or the original hardware that was on the doors and things, you can date it and say it was made by Sears. What's amazing is Sears did like over 70,000 house kits, and only about 10% of them are actually identified. But after going through the Sears catalog and looking at so many of the houses that are here that were built in the early 1900s, you see they either copied the Sears house or they are Sears and Roebuck houses. And this could be major. Peace.